Right, so we begin the class. Listen. So very good day to everybody. Once again, this is internet programming, and in this class we discuss about event handling procedure, about dynamic HTML with JavaScript. Then we discuss about JSON introduction and syntax. Okay. So this is especially for you, my dear students and young researchers, and you can reach me at dr.christoananth@gmail.com. So before beginning the session, once again, let me thank God for giving me this opportunity to deliver this useful session to share my knowledge among my fellow national, international participants, students and young researchers. Right. So here we discuss about JS event, JavaScript event. Then we introduce the importance of single as well as double quotes. Then we discuss about HTML events. What are the common HTML events? Then we discuss about dynamic HTML, JavaScript. We discuss about JavaScript and HTML events, about the JSON example, how you try to store the data, how you are trying to evaluate to the JavaScript objects, and of course the string values. So at regular intervals, I'll be giving you some short videos to discuss the knowledge in our topics. And of course, I had given the independent work for you. Please complete them as soon as possible. Right. So this is JavaScript event. So you can say event. Okay. So that's what a browser is going to do, or maybe something a user is going to do. Okay. So maybe it's an HTML event is something like a HTML web page which has finished loading, or maybe the input page was changed, or maybe a HTML button was actually clicked. Okay, so maybe when events happen, which means that you are going to do something with that. Okay, so here JavaScript will be letting you execute the code when the events are maybe detected, and it will be allowing event handler attributes to be added to the HTML elements. Right. So here we can use single quotes as well as double quotes also. For example, like element event, some JavaScript. So that is within the single quotes. Or maybe you can use double quotes as well. So some JavaScript you can enclose within the double quotes. So here you will be having like on click attribute. Okay. So that is being added to the button element. So maybe button on click document dot get element by id demo dot inner HTML, the date. Okay, the time is, you are going to close the button. Okay, so maybe if you can see doc type HTML body. So button on click, you'll have the time is question mark, close the button, then paragraph id demo, close the paragraph, close the body and close the HTML. So maybe if you can say the time is question mark, it will be displaying. Okay, if you click on this one, okay, if you click on this one, it will be displaying the date, time at the bottom. Okay, so this is the HTML event. So here the JavaScript code changes the content of the element with the id equal to demo, and maybe you can also have a code which is changing the content of its own element also, so that you can go for this dot inner HTML. Okay, so document type HTML. So here if you can see button on click equal to this dot inner HTML. Okay, the date. Okay, and the time is. Okay, same thing. So here you will be having JavaScript HTML events. So that is displayed in the H2 tag, and you'll have the time is button. If you click on this time is button, then immediately within that itself it will be displaying the date as well as the time. Okay. So here it's a button on click this dot inner HTML equal to date, the time is button. So these are the examples of HTML events. Okay, so same thing, this dot inner HTML equal to date. So if you click on this one, immediately it will display the date and time within that. Okay. So these are the common HTML events. You'll have on change, which means that the HTML element has been changed. On click, which means that the user clicks the HTML element, and maybe on mouse over, which means that the user uses the mouse over the HTML element, and then on mouse out, the user moves the mouse away from the HTML element. On key down, which means that the user pushes the keyboard key. Okay, and then on load, the browser has finished loading the page. Okay. So here we'll be having JavaScript event handlers also, so that can be used to handle and then verify the user input. You can also go with the verifying user actions as well as browser actions also. So here you can do it every time when the page is going to load, or maybe a page is actually closed, or maybe when the user clicks on a button, okay, or maybe the user is going to input the data. Okay, and there are several methods that can be used to let the JavaScript work with events. So maybe you can use HTML event attributes that can execute the JavaScript code directly, or maybe you can use it to call the JavaScript functions. You can assign your own event handler functions to the HTML elements, or maybe you can prevent the events from being sent, or maybe prevent the events that is being handled. So this is the DHTML JavaScript, okay, JavaScript alone. So here you can use document.write. So that is used to display the dynamic content to the web page. Okay, and you can use the JavaScript event HTML body. Script type is equal to text slash JavaScript. Okay, so here you'll go for document.write of date. Okay, close the script, close the body, and close the HTML. So here if you can see text slash JavaScript document dot write of date, so that will be displaying the date and time. Okay, and then you can also use HTML DOM also. Okay, dynamic object model. So JavaScript can change the inner content also. It can change the attributes also dynamically. Okay, and in order to change the content of the HTML element, maybe you can go for document dot get element by ID dot inner HTML equal to new HTML. And in order to change the attribute, you can go for document dot get element by ID dot attribute equal to new value. Okay, so maybe you can go with the ability event to trigger actions. Maybe you can go for starting the JavaScript when the user clicks on the HTML element, and in order to execute this one, you can have on click equal to JavaScript. Okay, and similarly you can use it for the CSS also. Maybe you can use the style of the HTML element document dot get element by ID dot style dot property equal to new style. So this is JSON, okay, JavaScript object notation. So it's a lightweight data interchange format that you will be using, and it's a plain text that is written in the JavaScript object notation. So you can send the data between computers as well, and of course it is language independent. Okay. So JSON JavaScript object notation. So that is in the format of text only. Okay, and you can have a code for reading as well as generating the JSON as well. Okay, so because it is language independent, you can use it in the different languages. Okay, so maybe you can have an example: name John, age 30, car null. Okay, so here you'll be having an object with three properties: name, age, and then car. Okay, so here if you can see, let person name equal to object name. Okay, so that is actually the name John, and let person age equal to object age. So that is the age you are specifying, which is 30. Okay, and you can use JSON, okay, especially for creating the JavaScript objects, and of course you can easily convert the JSON data, okay, JavaScript object notification into JavaScript objects. Okay, so here you'll be having a built-in function for converting the JSON strings into JavaScript objects as well. So JSON.parse, okay, and maybe you can have a built-in function for converting an object into JSON string. So JSON.stringify. Okay, and you can also use it as a JavaScript object also. So maybe you can send this JavaScript object into the server in the text format. Okay, and you can store the data also, like the data has to be stored in a certain format, and regardless of how you try to use it, okay, text is one of the most commonly used formats that you can use with the JSON. Okay, so here you can use the JavaScript objects as the text also. So these are the syntax rules. So data should be in name value pairs, and it should be separated by commas, and here we will be having curly braces which will be holding the objects, and here square brackets will be holding the arrays. Okay, and with the case of name value pair, okay, like it is also, you can call it as a key value pair. Okay, so that is established in double quotes. So name within double quote, you can specify the string, okay, John. So JSON format is almost identical to the JavaScript object. So name John. Okay, so the keys can be strings or maybe numbers or maybe identifier names also. So okay, so name John. Okay, so that within the single line you can enclose within the curly braces. So here with the case of the values, okay, so JSON, the values should be the following data types. It can be a string, it can be a number, it can be an object, it can be an array, or it can be a boolean, or maybe null as well. So these are the following data types that JSON will be supporting. Okay. So in the JSON, like we'll be having all of these plus one JavaScript expression. Okay. So maybe you can have function, date, and then undefined. Okay. So here it will be having within the double quotes, okay, name within double quotes, colon, John. That's a name. Okay, that's in double quote. So in the JavaScript, you can write the string values with the double quote or maybe single quotes. Maybe if you can say name double quote, John double quote. Similarly, name John within the single quote you can actually specify. So these are the JavaScript objects. So because the JSON syntax is actually derived from the JavaScript object notation, so very little extra software is needed to work with the JSON. So maybe within the single line you will have person equal to name John, age 31, city New York. So that everything in a single line you can specify and with the double quotes. So doc type HTML body. So H2 the access a JavaScript object. So paragraph ID demo. So script you will have const my object. So here you will have everything in a single line. Name John, age 30, city New York. Okay. So if you can see, if it is a string means you can specify a double quote. For example, 30 you shouldn't express a double quote because it is not a string. Okay. And you'll have document.getElement by ID demo, inner HTML, my object name. So close the script, close the body and close the HTML. So maybe in the output, if you can see, access a JavaScript object, so that is a H2 tag, and similarly it will display the name, so my object name, so that John will be displayed.